Hello. If you've ever received critical comments, been attacked by trolls, or had comments from customers that question or doubt some aspect of your product or service, then I'm going to show you a great way to handle it with a single email. When my wife and I opened a private medical clinic a few years ago, there were a few of Maria's former colleagues that were presumably jealous and unhappy with their own life situation and circumstances, and didn't like to see Maria fleeing the nest. It was a bit like the crabs in the bucket analogy, where crabs get caught in a bucket, most of them scratch around the bottom and can't escape, but every now and again one of the crabs manages to climb the wall of the bucket and get near to the top, but before it can climb over the edge of the bucket and escape, the rest of the crabs pull it back down again as they're trying to escape. And that was what was happening here, really. And I think this is the case for most entrepreneurs and most business owners. Anyone that the masses perceive to be more successful, there are a certain percentage of those people who don't like it and try to pull you back down. It's easy to see that as a negative. It's easy to respond emotionally, and I'm not saying I'm judging you if you do respond emotionally, because certainly I've been there in the past. The reason I bring it up is that I saw this email from Michael at ConvertFlow, and thought it was a really great way to turn what could be a liability into an asset for you and for your business. So the story is that they received and have received comments about pop-ups not working from customers or prospective customers, and Michael and the ConvertFlow team turned that into an email that, in my opinion, effectively addresses that limiting belief and the criticism of part of what ConvertFlow does, and I suspect does a really good job of turning those people into customers. So I just thought this was a really valuable email and something that you could model and template and turn into something valuable for your own business. So in order to help you do that, I've kind of broken or will break the email into pieces and analyse why I think it works, so that you can take that reverse engineering and build it back up for your own business. And then at the end, I'm going to record another video of me doing it from scratch myself, so you can sort of adopt the process of taking what you learn initially and applying it to your own business. So here goes. Okay, so here's the email from Michael. Let's start with the subject line and work our way down. So, pop-ups don't work. The reason this caught my attention and the reason I saw this email in the first place is because pop-ups are really contentious. Marketers are divided as to whether to use pop-ups on websites, and so this is kind of intriguing because I wanted to know what Michael had to say about it. And it's also interesting that he started it with a quote. Either he's going to go ahead and agree with the statement that pop-ups don't work, or he's going to challenge it, and either way that sounds really interesting. So that's grabbed me and pulled me into the email, so that's perfect. Great subject line. The next 3 lines, the opening or the lead of the email, they're annoying, people hate them, they ruin website user experience. There's just a continuation of the subject line, which is perfect. Continues to keep me interesting, and I want to keep reading and find out what Michael has to say. And then it goes on to say, all typical comments we hear about pop-ups. So now we start to understand, okay, so these are not Michael's quotes, these are from other people, things that he's heard, presumably from customers or from prospective customers, certainly possibly from the people that are receiving this email. So great, very attention grabbing, pulls me in, I want to know more still. And they say, but here's the thing, making blanket assumptions like this is a surefire way to miss out on opportunities and stunt your business growth. It's akin to building a bad website, then saying that all websites don't work, or running a bad ad, then saying all advertising doesn't work. Quite simply, it's brilliant because it's true, and it's calling people out on their limiting beliefs about pop-ups. And the smart marketers who read this, who might have had some doubts about pop-ups, will find it hard to disagree with this position. And for those who don't, it's certainly going to get their attention, right? So even if Michael hasn't managed to change their entire viewpoint of pop-ups in 3 lines, 3 sentences, is certainly going to get their attention and an opportunity to do that in the rest of the email. So this is where he gets his point of view across quite clearly. The reality isn't saying this is what I think, he's saying this is the truth, this is what's actually happening, this is what pop-ups are and aren't. Bad pop-ups don't work. Bad pop-ups are annoying. Bad pop-ups ruin user experience. Okay, so you're saying pop-ups do work when they're good, but bad pop-ups don't work. And yes, they are annoying, and yes, they ruin user experience. And then says, but if they're shown at the right time, to the right audience, with a compelling offer, your pop-ups will end up being a key part of your website experience. So here we've got the criteria, right? So you told me that bad pop-ups don't work. Well, what makes a good pop-up? This is it. Pop-ups that are shown at the right time, to the right audience, with a compelling offer. Brilliant. If I want to run pop-ups now, I know exactly what I need and what they need to have. And then he goes on to say, and they won't just secure a few email signups either. They'll be a heavyweight player in how you drive list growth, sales, and revenue across all stages of the funnel. So this is where he turns facts into benefits, right? So assuming we agree, bad pop-ups don't work. The fact is, bad pop-ups don't work. The fact is that if they're shown at the right time to the right audience with a compelling offer, then they do work, and they can be a big key part of customers' or prospects' website experience. And then the next bit is about benefits. So, who cares that pop-ups can be a key part of their website experience, and who cares if they're good or bad? Well, this is why you should care. This is the reason why. Pop-ups can be a heavyweight player. They can help you drive list growth, sales, and revenue across all stages of the funnel. Perfect. Okay, so anyone that's interested in ConvertFlow, which is software for building funnels for e-commerce businesses, is going to be interested in that. Like, what business owner, what marketer doesn't want a bigger list with more sales and more revenue across all stages of the funnel? Obviously, everybody wants that, so that's perfect. And then he goes on to say, so how do you design pop-ups like this? So we're going from attention to interest to action, and conveniently, the answer of how you design pop-ups like this is to use ConvertFlow and use the guide that they've created with the 5 strategies that are in that guide. And then here we go, here's how you do it. Click the link and go to the guide. And then Michael finishes by saying, your website visitors will be grateful when they start seeing pop-ups that are actually useful instead of just annoying, which would be a novelty because most pop-ups are incredibly annoying. There's no getting around that. But like it says earlier, pop-ups are only annoying when they're bad pop-ups and they're not right for you, and they're not shown at the right time, and they're not compelling in the copy and the offer. So this is quite persuasive. It's taken us from possibly having a limiting view of pop-ups to explaining that, yes, bad pop-ups are annoying and don't work, but if you do it right, then they do work. And this is how you do it. We've got all the tools, we've got the guides. Here you go, give it a try. And then in the PS, Michael says, marketing is all about testing new offers and ideas. So what's the harm in at least trying out some of these pop-ups? Get started with the 5 strategies here. So another call to action, which is never a bad idea in the PS. And it's also a reminder that it's okay to try pop-ups and find that they don't work very well, because testing is critical in marketing. You can have a hypothesis, but you don't know what the results are going to be until you test your hypothesis. In this case, by running some pop-ups with ConvertFlow's help and seeing what happens, because you can then learn from what doesn't work, learn from what does work, adjust course, and be even more effective. Get more people on your list, more sales, more revenue, etc., etc. I personally found the offer, which is use ConvertFlow to build out the 5 strategies we've talked about in the guide. From my perspective and position as someone who doesn't use ConvertFlow, because I don't run an e-commerce business, I found it a little overwhelming in the sense that most people read the emails on the fly, have a lot of emails, like they do any other form of information like social media. The idea of going to ConvertFlow, signing up for a trial or purchasing a subscription, reading the guide, and then building out a bunch of pop-ups is quite a task, or at least that's my perception. And so I guess what I'm saying is, from my perspective, the offer would have been much more irresistible and compelling if it was easier to take action on. So for example, it could be, here's a 2-minute tutorial of me building a pop-up in ConvertFlow. Click the link, follow along, and do it with me in 2 minutes. That would have been much more compelling, and I could then have gone on and made more pop-ups because I've had the momentum and the confidence to do it. So the caveat to that is I'm not ConvertFlow's target audience, right? So if you worked for ConvertFlow, your opinion might be, well, I don't give a shit that it's not an irresistible offer for you because it was for our audience, and that's perfectly logical, and I would say exactly the same thing. My point is the purpose of expanding this and applying it to different businesses and situations. My point is that you benefit from making the offer in your specific email as irresistible as you can to your target audience. So I'm using it for demonstration purposes only. That said, I just want to zoom out a little bit and look at what's happening in this email, because it's not just about pop-ups. It's not just about the offer and all the individual elements. I think this email is a really good demonstration of structure. And structure is something that was taught to me by my coach at the time, Matt Fury, the great Matt Fury. And to my knowledge, was originally taught by Fritz, who's the author of The Path of Least Resistance and lots of other books on the creative process. And without getting too sidelined, the structure I like, the reason I like this structure is it's a good story without being a story as such, in that it takes the reader from one state to another. So it starts off with dealing with pop-ups as a negative. Pop-ups don't work. And then by the end we've got good pop-ups do work. At the start we've got people hate pop-ups. At the end we've got people love pop-ups when they're done right. At the start we've got they ruin website user experience. And at the end we've got no, they don't. Only bad pop-ups. So good pop-ups enhance website user experience. So I think this email does it really well. There's like a really clear contrast between the point of view of some potential ConvertFlow customers at the start and hopefully their point of view by the time they finish the email. Even if it doesn't change their point of view, I suppose ConvertFlow probably just want them to sign up and give it a try and let the data do the talking. And my point about structure is that having this like story of state 1 to state 2 or point A to point B, whether the email achieves its goals or not, is really interesting to read. It gets your attention really effectively and gets you to the end of the email. At least gives the sender the chance to achieve what they want to achieve. So that's something in its own right that you could model even if you don't have critics, even if you don't have negative comments about certain aspects of your products and services that you want to address. So that's a wrap on the actual email. I think this is, whether you currently have critics or not, I've found in my own business experience that the more successful you are and the better you do, the more critics you get. And so this model of an email, even if you just use the principles behind it, only gets more valuable and more of an asset over time. So obviously don't just copy this email, don't copy any word or sentence ad lib, just use the principles behind it and the ideas behind what made it work and apply it to your own situation. Not only would it be in copyright infringement to steal the email as it is, it also just wouldn't work. So it's a waste of your time, because every market is different, every product and service is different, every circumstance and situation is different. So there's no shortcut. With that said, I want to make it as easy as possible for you to convert, pardon the pun, convert this into an email that you can use in your business today. So I'm going to record another video, put it at the bottom of this post, where you can watch me creating an email like this from scratch. There's going to be no bells and whistles. I'm just going to show you how I would do it if I was creating a critics to customers email like this one. So you can see, you can go behind the scenes and see how to do it. That'll allow you to just either follow along as I'm doing it or watch it and then go away and write the email some other time. So that's it. I hope it was helpful. I'm always open to comments, questions, so you'll find a way to join my private email list scattered around the website. I haven't actually created it yet, but when I do create it, it's going to be by application only, because I want to have a relationship with everybody that's on the list rather than it just being a huge list of names. I want a personal relationship with people if they want it, where I can talk to them, respond to emails and answer questions. So if that's you, then feel free to apply and hopefully see you on the other side. Thanks for listening and watching, and I hope you got a lot of value from it.